Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is the Drafted Up Podcast. That's Nick. This is Theo. Today we continue our AFC East breakdown. It's going to be exciting. You can follow us over on Twitter at DraftedUp_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Just search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. And then, word of mouth, the best part. Just tell a stranger on the street you're walking your dog and just being like, hey, man, listen to the Drafted Up Podcast. Yeah, all that fun stuff. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good, as always. Can't complain too much. The weather's been pretty shitty.
Shit, the weather has been so bad. It has been raining here in PA for I feel a week.
It's been about 5 days. Tomorrow's the last of it.
It's hurricane season, and we're just getting all of it.
Sure.
Yeah, it is. It is from a hurricane.
I know that, but we're not getting a hurricane from it. We're just getting rain.
A rainstorm, a lot of it.
Yeah,
today's the worst. Today's going to be the worst, though. So I look forward to eventually losing power.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Oh, I'll just drive back to Ashley's and I'll just stay there.
Godspeed.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, today we're continuing the AFC East. Last episode we did the AFC North, which was a much more fun competitive division than this one. As of today, Thursday, August the 8th, Brandon Ayuk has still not been traded. And there's been some injuries. Rondale Moore out for the year. Christian McCaffrey has a little injury. He's not going to play at all in the preseason. Not that I expected him to, but
I believe it's a calf strain.
Yeah, which is what held Joe Burrow out last year for a bit. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he played, but he struggled through it. So a little bit worrisome there for Christian McCaffrey. I wouldn't worry too much, but if you're down picking at the one spot, you might want to consider Tyreek Hill.
I personally would not, but there's no gripe if you would.
No, absolutely not. Rashid Shaheed has a hamstring. Those linger, so that's not great for a speedster like him. I don't think there's any others off the top of my dome that I can think of.
That's about it.
Yeah, Royce Freeman. If you're really invested in that Cowboys backfield battle, he's hurt. So, oh well. Sorry, Royce, but you probably are going to be the third string running back anyways.
I was going to say he's not on my board too much. It's always been Zeke and Rico, and it kind of looks like it's switched the last couple of days that I've seen. Rico's kind of getting the bulk of what it should be, but who knows how it's going to pan out.
They're just going to sign Dalvin
They
Cook.
love Zeke. No, they love Zeke. Zeke's going to be that guy. But Rico seems to be the more energetic, younger. He's got more burst. Zeke looks old and washed, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Thursday, like I said, there's preseason football on today, so that's always fun. We're in the muck of it, baby. Preseason football.
Oh yeah, Giants Lions.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, Patriots Panthers. That's one.
That's
a battle game
there
for first pick of the draft, possibly. Just first preseason game.
That is truly insane that New England, Carolina is the televised NFL Network game over Detroit, New York. That does not make sense to me. I don't get it. But
I was going to say it could just be a local thing, but we're way closer to New York than we are New England. So I don't know the rhyme or reason to it. But maybe it's Drake May. Maybe it's just a quarterback thing.
That was the first thing that popped into my head, I guess. But I don't even know if Drake May is playing.
Yeah. Well, let's dive on in. We got the AFC East. We'll start with last year's division champions, the Buffalo Bills, last season finishing at 11-6 after a slow start. It didn't look like they were going to make the playoffs. They fired their offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, brought in Joe Brady, and the offense turned it around, and Buffalo ended up winning the division, making the playoffs, obviously. They're currently at a plus 180 to repeat as division winners, which has them tied for first. Another team in the division also has the same betting odds. Projected win total of 10.5 points. There's some names. They traded Stefon Diggs, so the receiving game is open. It is a question mark, and you have an elite quarterback like Josh Allen. He's my QB1. He was your QB3. So you want Josh Allen's number one weapon. It's just a matter of trying to figure out who it is. Both of us right now have it projected to be Dalton Kincaid.
But it's gonna be Kincaid.
It should be Kincaid, but the team loves Dawson Knox, and that guy's going to, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be on the field, so that Are they going to play Kincaid in the slot, play him on the outside? Is he going to be out on potential rushing situations so Dawson Knox a better blocker? So, like, there is question marks for Dalton Kincaid. I still think he's going to be the number one option, but there's always the chance that it could be Curtis Samuel or Khalil Shakir or even Keon Coleman or James Cook.
I don't think Keon Coleman could end up at the season with the most targets. He's not going to end up being that kind of receiver. It could be Curtis Samuel, I think. I think it's going to be him or Dawson Knox. Or Dalton Kincaid. My bad.
Yeah. Keon Cole, I meant in terms of yards, touchdowns. Like, Keon Coleman could end up leading this team in yards and touchdowns, fantasy-wise.
Fantasy-wise, he could. He's a big play receiver. He could be Gabe Davis. But I think that's the kind of season we're looking at for Keon Coleman, where he's going to have big boom weeks, but then he's going to have weeks where he has 2 to 3 points. And the whole Bills receiving room scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, which is what your concern is with Josh Allen. That's why you have him at QB3. Josh Allen currently going as the 211 right now. They were 10th ranked passing last year. So, like I said, it's a high volume team. This team is going to pass the ball. We have Dalton Kincaid, like I said, as the number one option. We have him as our tight end 2. He's currently going at the 502. And he's like consensus right now for the community at like tight end 6. So we're well above consensus with Dalton Kincaid. And like my thing with Kincaid, which we addressed on the tight end episode, was if Sam Laporta didn't exist last year, we'd be looking at Dalton Kincaid as a really successful rookie tight end. He just lacked touchdowns. He only had like 2 or 3, I think.
I think he had 3.
And now he potentially is the number one option with Diggs out of town. Like, he should see positive regression everywhere.
I don't know, dude. Josh Allen. Oh, man. Dawson. Yeah, I don't know. The Bills are very, very. They're all question marks. Josh Allen, I don't think is going to end up being quarterback 1 just based off the way their offense is going to be run now. It's not going to be over the top big plays with no Gabe Davis or Diggs out of town. So I think it's going to be a lot of checkdowns to Kincaid and Samuel and guys like that. So I don't think Josh Allen has the boom plays anymore. So it's going to be like kind of how Patrick Mahomes fell off when he wasn't quarterback 1 anymore. He didn't have Tyreek Hill taking over the top. So I kind of think without the weapons there, Josh Allen's going to take a step back.
I mean, the difference, though, is Josh Allen can run the ball for 500 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's done that once. He's only had double-digit touchdowns once. So if we're going off of that.
But rushing upside is there more than most quarterbacks.
Oh, 100%. That's why he's going to finish around the top 3. I don't think he's going to be 1, though, because of the touchdowns. I think his touchdowns passing are going to take a huge hit. I don't think he's going to have 15 rushing touchdowns because I think Cook's going to get up to at least 8 this year. I think he only had
2. He had 2 rushing touchdowns last year and 4 receiving.
Yeah, okay. Well, the receiving numbers are probably going to stay around the same. I don't think that's going to change much. I think his rushing touchdowns are going to go up a lot.
Yeah, so we'll dive right into the running back room. The Bills were the 7th ranked rushing offense in football. We currently have James Cook as the RB12 in our rankings. He's currently going at the 408. And Ray Davis is there. He's going I have him as the RB56. I don't think he's much of a factor at all.
No.
I think he only becomes a factor if James Cook fumbles again, like James Cook has been prone to do. He is like fumbled at the goal line or on his first touch of his career. Like, it just seems to be like a weird issue that he has, and then they kind of put him on the back burner and then welcome him back in, and he's been super successful.
I do think there is a slim chance that he gets a tiny amount of work around the goal line. Not
I think
Cook,
he will.
Being Ray Davis. I'm talking about Ray Davis. Because Ray Davis is a line mover. So he's that power back that Cook really... He's a little bolder, yes. He really is. But Josh Allen's going to be the goal line back. But I do think Cook and Davis are going to take a little bit of his goal line work away. So I don't think he's going to see 15 rushing touchdowns again.
So they were interviewing Joe Brady. I happened to see this this morning. And they asked him about Ray Davis as the goal line back. And he was like, I'm confident. But like, he then switched it to James Cook. Like, he was like, James Cook, I'm confident with him at the goal line. Like, I think he's going to which is great news. Like, that's what you want to hear for James Cook, because, like we said, 2 rushing touchdowns last year, and he's getting the endorsement from his offensive coordinator to get goal line work. Like, if James Cook has 8 touchdowns, he's a top 5 running back.
Yeah, especially in PPR, because his catches aren't going to go down. If anything, they're going to go up due to the receivers leaving Buffalo. So his catches are only going to go up. His yards are going to probably stay around the same rushing wise. But I do really see his touchdowns being like, I think his floor is 4. So they're going to double at least. But I do see a world where it could be 6 or 7, maybe even 8. Which would be amazing, because then James Cook, like you said, is going to be a top 5 running back.
Yeah. His past work history shows that vacated targets, like, we want to put him at receivers or tight ends. A lot of times they go to the running backs, and James Cook, he's a gifted pass catcher out of the backfield. So, and that it seems to be like that's Joe Brady's work. So we're both in on James Cook. Yeah, you're fine with him. I would probably take him before the 4th. I would consider James Cook back into the 3rd.
100%. He's going at RB14. He's going after guys like Josh Jacobs, who I would definitely take Cook over. He's going around guys like White and Joe Mixon. I would definitely take Cook over Joe Mixon for sure. Him and White's a toss-up, though. But I am leaning more towards Cook over White.
No, that's absolutely fair. It's set. James Cook's the guy. Like, you don't have to worry about Ray Davis cutting into that. Like, the only person you have to worry about cutting into his workload is Josh Allen. The receivers, where it gets mucky, like we said, like, you got 3 guys in Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. It's where are you going to call your shot? Curtis Samuel, he's currently going at the 10-11. Khalil Shakir is going at the 11-08. Keon Coleman's going at the 8-12. So ADP community-wise, they're leaning towards Coleman, which makes sense. He's the high upside rookie. But I don't know. Like, I have him ranked 3rd out of the receivers. He's my wide receiver 59. I have Curtis Samuel at wide receiver 41. I have Khalil Shakir at 57. Curtis Samuel had Joe Brady 1 year in Carolina. And I mentioned this on the quarterback episode when we talked about Josh Allen. And Curtis Samuel was a top 25 wide receiver. So the realm of possibility for him to do that is out there with the familiarity with the offense.
If I had to bet money on one of them beating their ADP, it would be Curtis Samuel. But I don't know if he's going to beat it to where it even matters necessarily. I don't think his ceiling's that high to where Keon Coleman's ceiling is way higher than Curtis Samuel's, but his floor is way, way lower than Curtis Samuel's. I brought up earlier that he's going to have Gabe Davis weeks where he could have 2 touchdowns, 111 yards, and 5 catches. But then he's going to have weeks where he has 1 catch, maybe 0 catches. He's going to goose a couple weeks. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
And early reports are that he's struggling with the playbook. So, like, it's going to be an easing in process for Keon Coleman. So, like, he's not going to be out there right away. So, like, if you do draft him, you're going in with the understanding that he's going to be on your bench for a couple weeks. And you're not even going to consider putting him in your line.
Yeah, he's not going to be on the field at 2 receiver sets. It's going to be Samuel and Shakir. But maybe he ends up on the outside over Shakir, and they just run Shakir on the slot. So maybe there is a chance he ends up on 2 receiver sets. I just don't see it happening right away.
Where do we stand on Khalil Shakir? I feel like he's the one no one talks about. Like, it feels like it's either Curtis Samuel or Keon Coleman that everybody focuses on, but Khalil Shakir had a strong year after after they switched over. And, like, they rave about this dude. I loved him coming out of Boise State. So, like, I kind of want to be in on him. It's just, like, it's tough to figure out how Buffalo... Like, I'm interested. Buffalo is one of the top teams I want to see in the preseason to see how they come out with 3 receiver sets, 2 receiver sets, where the guys are lining up. Because that might give us a little leeway in on how they're leaning.
Yeah, Buffalo, I really want to know how, like, what % of snaps they're playing with on first team, second team. Back to Shakir, though. It's almost like he's a poor man's Curtis Samuel. He does a lot of the stuff Curtis Samuel does. So I can't see them both getting a ton of the similar work. So I think it's more so people trust Curtis Samuel, like you mentioned with the Joe Brady connection. They just trust Curtis Samuel a little bit more than Shakir. but Shakir's been with Josh Allen for 2 years now, so he has the connection.
Last year was his second year.
So it's all about rapport, dude. So if Josh Allen at the end of the day trusts him the most, he's going to end up with the ball.
So Joe Brady's first game, Khalil Shakir had 3 catches for 115 yards, 1 touchdown. Then he was 3 for 47, 1 for 12, and then a goose, 3 for 45, 4 for 39, 6 for 105. And his snap percentage was through the roof. Like, he was playing a ton. So, like, I feel like familiarity-wise with Josh Allen, him and Kincaid are the best options. Like, I feel like Khalil Shakir might be the one who actually hits because no one's talking about him, and you could get him in the last round of your draft almost.
Yeah, I could see it happening. This is a very small chance, and again, I think his ceiling is lower than Curtis Samuel's, and I think his floor is lower than Curtis Samuel's. So I think I would just rather Curtis Samuel if I had to pick between two of them. But if I had to take any type of chance, I'm taking Keon Coleman.
So you would take Coleman at his ADP, 8-12, so the end of the 8th, beginning of the 9th. You're fine with that?
If I can get him in the 9th, I'm fine with it. I'm not fine with him in the 8th. If he falls a little bit.
Yeah, if we're looking at ADP, so beginning of the 9th, or beginning of the 9th, beginning of the 11th, beginning of the 12th. That's essentially how it goes. Coleman, Samuel, Shakir. You're putting your bet on Coleman as the 9th round guy.
I would just bank on what it could be, because at that point in the draft, you're looking at guys that can have end of the season potential, which Keon Coleman does if he ends up figuring out with Josh Allen at some point. And like I said earlier, I think his ceiling's just way higher. So I'm trying to get a guy that can win me weeks at that point, and if he doesn't, I can just cut him. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. He's my 3rd ranked of the 3, so I would probably lean Samuel or Shakir. But in the end, I'm mostly, if I'm targeting anybody in the Bills passing attack, it is Dalton Kincaid in the 5th round. I think that's great 100%, value.
Yeah.
So you got a bold prediction for the Bills?
I actually didn't write down any bold predictions for this division.
Okay, so here we go. I'll just give mine out, and it's back to James Cook. We brought up vacated targets. Sometimes it usually goes to the running backs. And I have that James Cook is going to finish the year with 1,000+ rushing yards and 1,000+ receiving yards.
That LT year.
Yeah, it's in the realm of possibilities. Like, with all the targets vacated, like, it could just become that Josh Allen's going to trust James Cook in the situation.
Yeah, definitely a possibility for sure.
Moving on, next up in the division was the Miami Dolphins. They finished with the same record, 11-6, currently at +200 according to DraftKings to win a division. That puts them at 3rd. Projected win total of 9.5. The Dolphins are probably the most exciting team in this division, fantasy-wise. And they're built. Like, you can get anyone at any position and potentially have a huge guy. Even at tight end. Like, Jonnu Smith is their tight end now, but he's super athletic, and the Dolphins didn't have that at tight end last year. So, like, there's going to be weeks that are like, it wouldn't surprise me if Jonnu Smith goes out week 1 and has a big week, and we're like, yeah, we probably should have seen this coming. That, freak athlete at tight end.
He did it in Atlanta over Kyle Pitts. Arthur Smith trusted him more than Kyle Pitts, who was a top 10 pick, super young, super athletic, can move, stretch the field. And Jonnu Smith was out there getting more targets, getting more receptions, more yards. And he looked legitimately good in Atlanta last year.
Jonnu Smith, his career path has been similar. Excuse me, not like draft capital wise, but the way he's been used, like David Njoku. Like, Cleveland never used Njoku. He wasn't overly targeted until like the last 2 years. Like, his breakout season was like year 6, and now Jonnu Smith sort of falls in that range. Really athletic guy. Falls into the right system here in Miami, maybe we're looking at Jonnu Smith as a top 15 guy and a viable fantasy option every week instead of just like hoping you got the boom week from him.
Anyone in Miami's offense, I trust if they're on the field for enough snaps. If he's on the field for enough snaps, I would trust him. I don't think he's going to be on the field for enough snaps, but if he was, he's going to produce fantasy-wise because that's what Miami does. It doesn't matter who's on the field. As long as they're on the field, they're going to put up fantasy points.
Yeah. So Miami was second ranked in passing last year. We obviously got Tyreek Hill. He's our wide receiver 2, currently going at the 104. He's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, we have wide receiver 17. He's going at the end of the 3rd. Yeah, I think that's great value. I actually think we're lower on Waddle than we should be. I think he's a guy who I'm going to bump up in my restats. Like I think he has wide receiver 1 in terms of top 12 potential. Like him and Hill have both done it in the same season before.
I was going to say Waddle's done it before. His rookie year, he looked amazing. And
that was without Tyreek Hill, his rookie year.
I mean, that was also coming off injury at Alabama. So like he's just an amazing freak athlete. I love Waddle. At his ADP, I'll scoop him up any day.
Yeah, and there's Odell Beckham, who I don't think has any real fantasy relevance. No. I have him as my 81st receiver.
But I think whoever ends up as that slot,
value.
I think whoever is the slot receiver will end up with some type of value in fantasy. I don't think it's going to be Odell, though. I don't think he's going to have enough consistent targets in that offense to produce.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy goes down, though, Odell would be an interesting name to look at to see how Mike McDaniel utilizes it if Waddle or Hill misses time, if it's going to be Odell, or if he goes to a guy like Braxton Berrios or Malik Washington, who they drafted, who I'm super high on, but I can't see a 6th-round pick making any sort of impact on this team.
I mean, McDaniel was trying to draft Malik Washington in the 3rd and the 4th. The GM just wouldn't pull the trigger. And there's a video of him, but you can see the excitement when they drafted him. So I did not see that. It wouldn't surprise. He was calling for Malik Washington rounds before he was drafted.
I am Mike McDaniel.
He's someone that McDaniel wanted, so it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up getting schemed into this offense at some point.
Would love to see that. You guys know through the draft process how high I was on Malik Washington. So definitely. I would love to see that. Jonnu Smith, we brought up. I actually think he plays a lot in the slot, and that's a big body to be putting in the slot. Real good athlete. Like I'm actually rising on Jonnu Smith, and I hate it. I hate that I'm doing it because like he should have done it in New England, but he couldn't beat out Hunter Henry. It feels like any tight end New England signs never beats out Hunter Henry because it happened last year with Mike Gesicki. And then Arthur Smith just always had Jonnu Smith on the field over Kyle Pitts, but like Atlanta's passing offense just was shit. So like it wasn't consistent. And now you get him into a team who is pass heavy. Like he might be the most interesting person to me that I want to see week 1. Like there might be a chance I take a flyer last round and take Jonnu Smith in hopes that it booms. Like Sam Laporta last year, like he was a guy you took a flyer on. If you punted the position, you got him at the end of your draft and it hit. Jonnu Smith could be that this year.
It's definitely a possibility just because it's Miami's offense and the kind of athlete Jonnu Smith is. He was in Tennessee before New England?
Yeah.
Is that where he was? Okay. I'm trying to like place his career, and he's kind of been on the same path as like what's that guy's name? He was in San Fran and then went to Tennessee.
Delaney Walker.
There we go. A very athletic tight end. It took a couple years.
Fullback.
Yeah.
The one guy we didn't talk about in the passing game is the quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. We currently have him at quarterback 17, which is lower than his ADP. He's going at the 9-12. I actually feel Tua is the person of this offense I want the least of. Like, I just don't think there's a big ceiling for Tua. Like, it's weird that he, like, leads the league in passing, but, like, there's no rushing upside with this dude. And, like, he can have 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards, and he's still, like, a quarterback 10 at best.
I get he has no rushing upside, but if we're sitting here next year and I said Tua led the league in passing touchdowns, would that not surprise you? Or that wouldn't surprise you, correct?
I think it would, because I think Miami is going to get, like, they seem to really get a ton of rushing touchdowns, and that could be cheap. Like, Raheem Mostert had like 17 last year. So, like, maybe that was also a fluke.
But he also had 3 receiving touchdowns, and Devon A-Chain is good for who the fuck knows what kind of touchdowns. But I'm just trying to bring up that
I guess, like, Tua could lead the league in passing touchdowns, and it wouldn't surprise me too much.
Tua should kind of be drafted around those guys that are pocket guys, like Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud,
Purdy.
Brock, but all those guys are being drafted after CJ Stroud, who is a strict pocket passer.
Well,
So
CJ Stroud's ADP is insane. Like,
it's
I
insane.
wouldn't touch that.
It's crazy, but if we're talking that Tua can outscore CJ Stroud, this talks about why would you take a quarterback in the 4th or the 5th when you can get Tua way, way later, and he's going to have around the same stats, possibly, as CJ Stroud, is just based off touchdowns. If Tua can push out the 30 touchdowns, he's going to be golden.
Yeah, if you're looking at a straight Tua to Stroud comparison, I would absolutely buy Tua at 9-12 over Stroud, who's going in the 4th. But like, I would take Burrow in the 6th to 7th range before I would think about Tua in the 9th. And same with Dak. But I do understand, like, Tua could be a guy, like, you draft him and he could win your league just because of this offense. Like, I do get that. I just don't see that.
He's done it back-to-back years, but Tua starts off probably the hottest quarterback week 1 through 8.
And he tails off.
And then he just dies. But he usually gets banged up. He gets hurt. So if they can kind of keep him healthy, keep his injuries, he's bulked up. So maybe the muscle helps.
Yeah. Cut it. He's growing out his hair. He's looking good. He
does look good. He's got the look. He might be the coolest looking quarterback. He's got the sleeve tattoo now. He's looking like a tiny little Roman Reigns out there winging the ball down in Miami. He is our tribal chief. Yes, sir. Recognize. But
let's talk about the run game. That we haven't touched on the running backs. 6th ranked rushing attack last year. Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and they also drafted Jalen Wright, another speedster out of Tennessee, in the 3rd. Fourth. I currently have Wright as my RB63. He's actually drafted in mostly. He's going at the 1207. Like, I don't hate taking a flyer at the end of the draft on Jalen Wright if Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane get hurt, and they're both prone to do so.
They are prone to get a little bit banged up, and he is a strict security blanket this season, I think.
If those guys are both healthy, that guy's barely seen the field, maybe as a kick returner.
I agree. I was going to say there's a legit chance that his rookie season is a red-shirted season where he doesn't see the field at all, if much at all, besides kick returning special teams, if Mostert and Devon Achane do not get hurt. Because those two guys are just too good to not have on the field.
Yeah, so we have Achane as our RB13, a little bit lower than his consensus. We have Mostert at RB27, higher than his consensus. Mostert's currently going at the 801. Achane is going at the 212, so he's starting to fall back a little bit. Like, I am no longer afraid of taking Devon Achane in the 2nd round. I'm not. Like, before, I was just like, petrified, but like, I'm at the point where, like, if your 1st round pick usually hits, like, bearing injury, like the guys you draft in the 1st round are usually fine.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I'm content taking that huge upside because, like, Devon Achane, I don't want to be like, I don't want to take him and take, I don't know, Chris Olave per se. Like, I love Chris Olave, but I'm just throwing out a name who's going around the same spot. Taking him because he's a safer fantasy option, and then 2 picks later, the guy after me gets Devon Achane, and Achane's the RB1 and wins the league for this dude. When they're like, I was just a playoff team and lost in the 2nd round because I had no real upside. Like, Achane, if you get Achane and say you get one with Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson, that's lethal because, like, that dude could outperform anyone picked in the 1st round.
I agree. I'm looking at ADPs on just flex guys who that's receivers, running backs, and tight ends. I would take him over Marv. I would take him over Devontae Adams, and I love Devontae Adams. I would take him easily over Drake London, Sam Laporta, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, and then there lies Devon Achane. I have him as almost a 1st round, back end of the 1st round kind of guy now. So him going in the 2nd, I'm not scared of it just based off what he can do. I probably have him ranked like 14th or 15th overall. So him going, 18th, 19th, I'm cool with that.
So then we got Raheem Mostert. Like, if you take Achane in the 2nd, are you just ignoring Mostert for the rest of the draft? Or is there, like, a possibility, like, you take both those guys? Like, Mostert's going at the 801. Like, I've said it before, like, I think he's going to go higher in most home leagues based off what he did last year, name value. But, like if he falls, and say at his ADP where he's going in the 8th, and you draft HN in the 2nd,
Mhm.
would you bite and take Mostert also in the 8th?
In one of my many, many, many leagues, this is the one I do regularly with friends from elementary school, actually. I had Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane all on the same team, and I won the championship last year. So I am not scared of having two Dolphins. God forbid they're both their running backs. They're both going to perform. Do I want to start two Dolphins running backs? God, no. I want to start Mostert in the flex. If I can have Achane, another running back, and I can get Mostert as my third or fourth running back, where he's like a plug flex kind of guy, I'm happily doing that. Because he's going so late, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going at the 801. And last year he was a top 3 running back. So, like, his dip's been insane.
His touchdowns are not going to be 17 or 18, whatever the hell they were. I think he had 21 total touchdowns last year.
He did. 21 touchdowns last year.
That's not going to happen. But
like, his betting line right now is 8.5.
I was going to say, rushing. I think 10 or 12 is really a good option. So at him going in the eighth round, I think 8th, 9th round kind of round, I am cool with Mostert going there. I do think Achane's going to see way more attempts than he did last year, but I don't think it's going to be more than Mostert. Mostert's still going to be their back. He's their leader in the locker room. You've heard the way they talk about him down in Miami. They love Mostert. He's a super good team guy, so yeah. I think he's going to be the leader again.
Yeah, and if they get down to the goal line, it's going to Mostert. Like
100%.
The majority of Achane's touchdowns are going to be big plays.
Oh yeah, they're going to be outside of the 20 for sure.
Yeah, but a super exciting team. Like you want pieces of this all. Like you want Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. I'm in on Jonnu Smith, like I said, Mostert, Achane, even Tua, and hey, if I'm, and I would even take Jalen Wright if I'm a team there and I'm just looking for an upside guy, banking off injury.
It depends on the structure of my team. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. My bold prediction.
Devon Achane kind of reminds me of Chris Johnson this year. I think he could easily be a guy who doesn't, even Jamal Charles, he's not going to get a ton of attempts, but he could finish top 5 in yards for sure.
Yeah, I compare Achane to Jamal Charles. There's just a guy who's like high end volume, high end like yards per touch, and like
sure. They're
like he doesn't need 200 touches to get a boatload of yardage or stats.
You've seen it last year. I think he had 100 or so attempts and he had like 800 yards.
8 yards a carry, insane.
Yeah.
My bold prediction for the Dolphins is Raheem Mostert related, and it's that he does have 15 plus touchdowns again this year.
Would not surprise me.
Yeah. Is there anyone on the Dolphins that actually like scares you, like to pick? Is it like it's Achane, but even that, like I'm confident at that. Like, is it Mostert then?
No, because I'm still not even scared of Mostert. I guess it would be Tua if he was my starting quarterback.
Okay. I was gonna say Jalen Waddle. He's always like he was so banged up last year. Like I feel every game he was coming in and out.
There is a risk with Waddle, but I push my chip in on every single Miami player: Hill, Waddle, Mostert, Devon Achane, and if I punt the tight end position, Jonnu Smith is a week 1 fine start just to see how it works.
Yeah, I think this is a team that I don't really have any qualms or fears of drafting anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let's move on to a team that might be the opposite there, and that's the New York Jets. Last year they finished 7-10. They're at plus 180. Tied to win the division with Buffalo, projected win total of 9.5. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, probably.
Maybe.
Bearing injury. We currently have him as our QB 18. He's going 12th round, 13th round. Is there a chance Rodgers returns to MVP form, or are those days numbered?
MVP form? No. Good God, no. But there's a chance.
I mean, we're only like 3 years removed from him being an MVP.
Yeah.
2 years.
But he's not an MVP candidate anymore, I don't think. But I think there is a chance where he could just go in there and just be a really good game manager, kind of like a lower end Kirk Cousins. And if he does that, I think the Jets are going to be really good. Like, the Jets won 7 games last year with trash.
With Zach
Arguably
Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, like just a bunch of ho-hum dudes.
I think I seen a stat that they had less than 10 passing attempts inside the 10-yard line last year. Like they didn't get to the. Their passing offense is horrendous.
They were the 30th ranked passing team in football, which is insane. I would have bet that they were 32. I can't believe there was two teams worse than them.
But if Aaron Rodgers is able to go in there and be, because we know Aaron Rodgers isn't going to turn the ball over. He doesn't do it. He doesn't risk passes. He doesn't force them. He's probably the smartest game managing quarterback when it comes to like not turning the ball over. So he's going to go in there and make really smart plays. And with the Jets having arguably the best defense in football, maybe the second or third, it's a top 4 defense for sure. The Jets on paper, if Rodgers can stay healthy and produce at a mediocre level, should win 9 or 10 games.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a spot start guy if you need a bye week or just a streaming option anywhere. That's where he's at. Like we brought up with the Ravens, like this team's very streamlined. You know where everything's going. And it's pretty much just Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
So they did sign Mike Williams, who they activated off PUP today, which is great news. I was worried coming off the ACL that that we were going to have to see a few weeks of Alan Lazard. And that just sounded terrible. I don't care that he has history with Aaron Rodgers. That dude's washed.
I agree for sure.
But I don't think Mike Williams plays too much into relevance in terms of fantasy. I have him as my wide receiver 46. He's going in the 12th round. Garrett Wilson, though, we have him as wide receiver 7. He's going at the beginning of the 2nd. He's got wide receiver 1, like the number 1 upside.
Yeah, you've seen it the way he plays with shit quarterbacks. Just how good a receiver Garrett Wilson is. He's
more targets than any player through his first 2 years in NFL.
I was going to say, he holds the record for targets, and they just force him the ball just because they know what kind of player he is. And it was the same with Breece Hall last year as well. Like they couldn't really run. He was only averaging like 2 to 3 yards a carry at some point.
23rd ranked rushing offense.
But he was getting so many attempts. He's not going to have that many passing targets this year because it's not going to be that offense. But Breece Hall is an elite rusher. So his rushing stats are going to...
He's our RB2. Like, we're one of the few... Like, it seems more consensus has Bijan over him, which it's fine. I'm not going to bite your head off for that. But, like, if I'm on the clock and they're both there, I'm going to go Breece Hall most likely over him. Like, I think Breece Hall... he could finish RB1. I also think Bijan could, but like I would bet more on Breece Hall finishing as RB1 than Bijan Robinson.
I agree. The Breece Hall is almost perfect in my eyes. I loved Breece Hall coming out, and his rookie year you've seen the flashes. Last year you've seen the flashes, and he was coming off injury, so that's crazy. And you still seen. Like the burst was still there. He's that kind of athlete. So he's just another year removed from injury. So he's even more healthy.
Like his first carry off that ACL injury last year was like a 78-yard run.
Yep.
Like
he's that kind of guy for sure.
Yeah. I'm just excited to see what the Jets do with a potentially competent quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers could be washed, but he's still better than what they had last year. And the offense is still going to be better. As
long as he's fine, the Jets are going to be really good.
Yeah,
like their defense is so good. They could literally win with nothing. They did last year. They won 7 games, and I'm pretty sure they beat like Philly and Houston.
Zach Wilson beat the Eagles.
Yeah,
the Eagles lost to Zach Wilson and Drew Lock last year.
Oh, that's rough. So that defense isn't going to change. Aaron Rodgers, as long as he can produce a little bit and stay healthy, Garrett Wilson's going to be around his ADP, probably above it. I'm cool with Breece Hall being the 2nd or 3rd running back picked.
Is there anyone outside those 2 guys that you'd be willing to take a jump on? Mike Williams, Alan Lazard, your guy Malachi Corley, and then Tyler Conklin.
I like Tyler Conklin. He's a guy I'm willing to take. I'm looking at him like Jonnu Smith. I don't think he's gonna have big upside weeks like Jonnu could, but he's a really safe floor guy. I'm pretty sure
Aaron Rodgers loves him too.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's finished around the top 12 tight ends the last couple of years. He's just really... last year, he finished with 87 targets, 621 yards.
the last 3 years he's had 87 targets.
Yeah, so he's near 100 targets every year. He's a really under the radar kind of guy.
He just doesn't get touchdowns.
Yeah,
7 career touchdowns. He had no touchdowns last year. 3 the year before that.
He did have 0.
3 the year before that.
So I mean, hey man, his touchdowns are only going up from here. So let's get it, baby.
Like again, just like Jonnu Smith, like you said, he's a guy I would take a flyer on with my last pick, especially if I punt the position. I mean, maybe you got a week 1 starter, maybe Tyler Conklin's your guy, and he turns out fine.
Even if I get TJ Hawkinson, these are 2 guys that I'm looking to move Hawkinson to the IR, and I'm cool starting Jonnu Smith or Tyler Conklin for a couple weeks. It is what it is until Hawkinson comes back.
Any of the receivers though, or it's just Garrett Wilson?
Not really. I think Malachi Corley's going to be like a behind the line of scrimmage kind of guy. He's going to get the yak yards like he did in college.
He's going to play the Randall Cobb role for Aaron Rodgers.
See, I don't even think he's going to get like targets down the field like Cobb did at some point. But he's going to get a ton of small targets, I think. But he's a rookie. Rodgers hates rookie receivers, so he's going to have to develop. That's a thing. And Mike Williams, though, if he can stay healthy, which is the biggest if out there, he could be a huge red zone target for Rodgers. Like, he's a big body guy who can win 50-50 balls.
Mike, he's also a deep threat, too.
Yeah.
Like, Mike Williams could be the guy that you're watching towards the fantasy playoffs because he'll be a little more healthy. He'll be past the surgery. He'll be a year past it come week 5. So, like, the playoff run for fantasy, Mike Williams could be a guy who earns flex spots, starting spots.
Do you happen to have his stats before he got hurt?
Yeah, I can get them. But, like, I love Mike Williams. He's always a guy I'm targeting. Not this year. And this is supposed to be the year he breaks out. So in 3 games, he had 19 catches for 249 yards and 1 touchdown. And I feel most of that was against the Minnesota Vikings last year, which is the game he got hurt.
He finished wide receiver 8 that week. He had 7 for 121 and a touchdown. So
it's a guy with insane big play upside.
Yeah. So he's kind of like Rodgers. As long as he can stay healthy and he can be on the field, I think he can produce a little bit.
Yeah. Like I said, he's a guy to watch on the waiver wire and come like mid-season, if he's still there, throw a couple fab dollars at him and you get him and hope he booms.
Yeah, there's a chance that he's the touchdown guy in New York if he's on the field. So.
My bold prediction for the New York Jets is that Garrett Wilson breaks the reception record, which is 149, currently held by Mike Thomas.
A lot of catches.
This dude garners a lot of targets.
Yes, he does. A historical amount, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. The New England Patriots. Last season finished 4-13.
It's been a good episode. We can just end this here. There's only 3 teams in this division, fantasy-wise. So.
They're at
what are we talking about? We're talking about Ramondre Stevenson? That's Ramondre?
Yes.
That's
the Patriots their current betting odds are plus 2,500 to win the division, which is obviously last. Their projected win total is 4.5.
Generous.
Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback. He is my quarterback 29. He's your quarterback 33. Drake May, you guys know through the draft process how I feel about Drake May. And it is a damn shame that this guy's not going to get to play. But this team's so bad that I don't know if I want to see Drake May play.
I do want to see Drake May play a little bit. A little quick update stat. Drake May did play in the preseason game. He went 2 for 3 for 19 yards.
Yeah, they only let him play 1 drive. What a shame.
It is what it is. You don't want to risk him out there. It's preseason. He'll play more later games.
Yeah, I have Drake May at my quarterback 36. You have him at 34. And there's Joe Milton. Camp talks. The camp buzz around Joe Milton has been insane. Like, there's people saying that Joe Milton's going to be over Drake May. Joe Milton might be the starting quarterback of this team.
That's because he can throw a ball 90 yards. Yeah. That's the only reason.
You'll see in preseason that Joe Milton cannot read, and he could read, but he can't read a football game.
Maybe.
He is just there looking for a guy, and if he can chuck it to him, he can. If not, he is dumping it off or running. Incredible athlete. Like, I don't want to disrespect Joe Milton. I said it through the draft process. I would love this guy at tight end. Like, I hope New England puts him at tight end. Him and Jaheim Bell, just being like two dudes who have no real position, just being athletes.
Joe Milton is the ultimate backup quarterback. Like, he's a guy that can come in, the team doesn't have any type of like tape or whatever the hell's going to happen, and he's just going to blow the top off the defense because they have no idea what's about to hit them.
He's your Hail Mary quarterback too. If you just need a Hail Mary because he can throw the ball over the mountains.
But if his first or second look is done, the play's over. It's a wrap. He's not going to look at his third, fourth. He doesn't check down. He doesn't. If Joe Milton throws the ball 5 yards, it's still going 70 yards. It doesn't matter how far he's throwing it. It's going far.
He's always knuckle pucking it, baby. It's always a knuckle puck.
Yeah. So like once
29th ranked offense, passing offense last year. So like, it is there anyone you want in this in the receiving room? Hunter Henry?
No.
He's current. So the current ADP of these guys is Pop Douglas. Demario Douglas is going 15.06. Hunter Henry's going 15.12. And I did not write Jalen Polks or Kendrick Bourne's down or KJ Osborne. So that probably means they're going past the 15th round. But I feel Polk's being drafted.
Dude,
but camp buzz around Polk hasn't been great.
Polk's occasionally being drafted. It's not often. Hunter Henry, no, I don't really want him because there's other tight ends I'd be willing to take a fluke chance on. I don't trust the passing game here where I trust the passing game in Miami or New York or the Jets, that is. So I trust those passing games where I don't trust any passing option in New England. If I had to pick one, I guess it would be Douglas.
Pop Douglas.
I guess
he was their leading receiver last year with 500 yards.
He's the safer option over Polk, but I would love to see if it was Jalen Polk, dude. I love Jalen Polk. I think he can go in there and tear it up. But I think that kind of is next season with Drake May, Polk, and Javon Baker. We really start to see the three of those guys really start to click in New England.
Love me some Javon Baker. Kendrick Bourne was relevant last year for this team, but
he was fine.
He's coming off an ACL injury, so you don't know how effective he's going to be. They apparently love KJ Osborne, which is great. I love to hear that because former Minnesota Viking, he always thrived in certain situations. It kind of reminds me of like a better and Jarius Wright. There's a little throwback, another Viking. But no, yeah, there's no one in this passing game I want.
No, I don't.
There's only one player on this team I want. And it's Ramondre Stevenson. He's going at the 6'10". Yep. We have him as our RB19. They were the 26th ranked rushing team last year, so bottom 25 across the board. Antonio Gibson's there as the backup. He's also being drafted in the 15th round. I have him as my RB44. I guess you can take a flyer on Antonio Gibson, but I think that train has choo-chooed off. I'm done with Antonio Gibson.
I was a lot higher on Gibson before Ramondre got paid. Once Ramondre got that deal, I'm like, there's not a chance they're using Gibson as much as he needs to be used in order to be a relevant fantasy option. And Ramondre is a good catch option. He's got good hands. We've seen it before. So he's still going to see a good amount of catch options in the backfield. So it's not even like Gibson's specialty is Ramondre's weakness.
Yeah.
So
and he's going at the 6'10", which is it's great value. Almost in the 7th round, you're getting the running back one, but the offense is bad, so there is limited touchdown upside for Ramondre Stevenson. So it might be a situation where like you're going to be relying in PPR situations, if you're in a PPR league, on Ramondre's just backfield work in terms of like dump off passes.
Yeah,
there's no real world where he's a top 10 fantasy running back just because this offense is dribbling garbage.
No, he's not going to end up being an RB1. But if you end up going receiver heavy in the first couple rounds and you need an RB2 and you're sitting there in the 6th, Ramondre's going to finish between 13 and 24. He's going to finish as an RB2. So to get that in the 6th, it's just a lock. And then you don't have to worry about your RB2 spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like I said, Ramondre is the only option here.
Oh, yeah. There's not another. I wouldn't even draft another New England fantasy option besides Ramondre, to be honest.
Yep. My bold prediction for the New England Patriots was originally
they have 0 passing touchdowns on the year.
Was that they're going to utilize a 3 quarterback system and just try to do like a unique offense to throw everybody off. But I was just like that's so insane. So I'm going maybe more insane. The Patriots win one game this year.
Oh,
They go 1-15.
I really like Jared Mayo as a coach, so
I do too.
I
But
think his
I just
culture
don't think,
alone can win a couple games.
yeah, I just don't think there's any talent on this roster to win games.
I-
And then next year they get the first overall pick and they draft an offensive tackle to protect Drake May. And we start building the culture that way. Drake May comes in next year. We got his franchise left tackle. Jalen Polk's a year more experienced. Javon Baker's a year more experienced. Pop Douglas in the slot. You got Ramondre Stevenson. Things are starting then to look up for the Patriots. But one win this year, so you guys obviously know that's where I'm putting him last place. What's your prediction? How's this division turn out?
Miami, New York, Buffalo, New England.
I got Miami also winning the division. I have Buffalo in second, New York in third, and then obviously the Patriots in last with their one win.
Checks out. Yeah, I think New England is a for sure lock at the last place spot in this division. But then those three other teams are a huge toss up.
Yeah, any of those those three could go in any order in my eyes.
For sure. If someone sits there and tells me they have the Jets first, cool. If you have them third, whatever, fine, I get it. I actually think Devontae Adams ends up being a Jet by the deadline to help them later in the playoff push to get a real another receiver in there with Garrett Wilson. I do like the Jets a lot this year. I think they're going to end up being the team they were supposed to be last year.
Yeah, we'll see. I currently don't have them in the playoffs. I got three teams from the north, and then Buffalo and Miami.
I get it. Yeah, see, I have them over Buffalo. I like their defense a lot.
If they're going to go anywhere, the defense is going to be the prime factor, and then obviously a healthy Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
There we go. The AFC East in the books. Thankfully, I'm glad we didn't start with this.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, we started with a real division for sure.
And then our next one, we're going to do the AFC South, which has some guys too. Like the projected worst team in that division does have way more fantasy options than the New England Patriots. So it'll be fun to talk about them. I'm looking forward to talking about the AFC South. That's a fun division.
Yeah, there's a lot of young talent in that division that we can really talk about.
Yeah, buddy. There we go. Drafted Up Podcast, division number 2 in the books. We'll have this out here. It's Thursday. We'll probably have it out Friday or Saturday for you guys.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, I don't know why I said that because it's not like you're going to listen to it live.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Disregard. It's recorded Thursday, whatever day you're listening to this being Friday or Saturday. That's why.
We're telling you the day just so you know Brandon Ayuk is still on the Niners.
Yes.
As of still, right now, Thursday.
Yes, Thursday. Brandon Ayuk still on the Niners as of this recording.
Yes.
It's been a long week. I'm tired. There we go. Drafted Up Podcast, AFC East in the books. We'll see you next time with the AFC South preview.
Yes, sir.
Adios.
Bye-bye.